A lot of people in the comments asked for a video about NATO, so let's go. NATO is not one army.
It is a military alliance of 32 countries with combined active forces of approximately 3.5 million soldiers.
Roughly 12,000 tanks, 5,000 combat aircraft, and 1,500 warships.
Putting it against any single ancient army is not a fight. It is a press release. So this video does something different. Every army in recorded history teleports to a single battlefield at the same time. Romans, Greeks, Persians, Mongols, Spartans, Macedonians, Chinese imperial armies, Napoleon's Grande Armée,
the Spanish Armada, the Crusaders, the Samurai of Japan, every army that ever marched. Combined estimated force across all of human history.
Somewhere between 50 and 100 million soldiers, not counting reinforcements. Every weapon they ever carried. Every general they ever followed. All of them at once, against NATO. The setting is open plains in Central Europe. Flat terrain, no urban cover, no mountains to hide in. NATO knows they are coming. The battle starts at dawn.
The fight begins before any ancient soldier sees a NATO uniform. NATO air forces launch within hours of confirmation.
F-22s, F-35s, Rafales, Typhoons, B-2 bombers, B-252s.
No way to fire upward at anything beyond bow range. The first wave drops cluster munitions,
JDAM-guided high explosives across formations stretching to the horizon. A single B-2 bomber can deliver enough ordnance to kill thousands in one pass.
Multiply that by hundreds of sorties per day for the first week. By the end of week 1, the combined ancient force has been
reduced by an estimated 30 to 40%, somewhere between 15 and 40 million casualties, without a single NATO soldier setting foot on the battlefield. Setting foot on the battlefield.
Most of the dead never saw what killed them.
Phase 2, artillery and standoff weapons. The ancient armies are still advancing. Even with millions dead, the surviving force is so large that the front rank is still moving forward across kilometers of open ground. NATO artillery enters the equation. HIMARS rocket systems fire GPS-guided rockets from 80 kilometers away.
Long-range precision artillery shells walk through the densest formations. Tomahawk cruise missiles strike command concentrations identified from satellite imagery. The Mongol horde tries to disperse. The Roman legions tighten formation. The Vikings and Crusaders try to charge through the impact zones. The Spartans and Samurai push forward looking for the enemy line that does not exist.
None of these responses change the outcome. They all die at roughly the same rate because the weapons reaching them do not care about formation, doctrine, or warrior culture. By the end of week 2, the ancient force has been reduced by another 30%, roughly 30 to 50 million dead.
Roughly 30 to 50 million dead. The survivors are exhausted, demoralized, and still kilometers away from any NATO soldier.
Phase 3, the ground war. This is where it gets harder for NATO. The combined ancient force still numbers in the tens of millions.
NATO has 3.5 million soldiers total, and only a fraction of them, perhaps 500,000, are deployed to the front.
The numerical disadvantage is roughly 100 to 1. NATO armor moves first. M1 Abrams, Leopard 2s, Challenger 2s, and Leclercs roll forward in coordinated formations. Each tank can engage multiple targets per minute.
Main gunfire and coaxial machine guns. Ancient weapons cannot penetrate modern armor. Not arrows, not swords, not Greek fire, not even Roman ballistas.
They have unlimited bodies. The Mongols ride, the Romans march, the Spartans sprint. They reach the tank lines through pure attrition, climbing over their own dead, and begin trying to disable individual tanks the only way they can. By swarming them, climbing on them, attempting to pry open hatches, setting fires. Most fail, some succeed. The first NATO casualties come not from weapons.
NATO infantry holds defensive lines behind the armor with M4s, M240s, and crew-served weapons. The kill rate per soldier is staggering.
Each NATO infantryman might kill 50 to 100 enemies. Divided by 500,000 NATO troops means each defender faces 20 enemies in the first wave alone, and the waves keep coming.
The remaining force is perhaps 10 to 20 million strong, exhausted, scattered.
And operating without unified command.
NATO has lost roughly 50,000 soldiers.
Most of them in the close quarters phase, when ancient forces overran isolated positions. This is the moment when, historically, this kind of war ends. Not because either side is destroyed, but because one side's command structure collapses, and the survivors either surrender or scatter. Without unified leadership, without supply. Without supply, and without any path to victory. The outcome. NATO wins decisively. Final ancient casualties, roughly 70 to 90 million dead. NATO casualties, between 50,000 and 200,000. Total time from first engagement to functional victory, between 4 and 6 weeks.
Between 4 and 6 weeks. The interesting question is not whether NATO wins, it is what the analysis reveals.
Modern firepower scales differently than ancient armies were ever built to handle. A NATO force that is outnumbered 100 to because every NATO weapon system was designed to defeat opponents who themselves had modern weapons. Against ancient armies, that overdesign becomes overwhelming.
Against ancient armies, that overdesign becomes oval. The Mongols and Romans
The
last.
same advantage that made them unbeatable in their own era. The Romans, because their discipline holds formations together longer than tribal armies.
And lets them keep moving forward under fire that would scatter anyone else. But longest is a relative term. Both die in days, not weeks. But longest is a relative term. Both die in days, not weeks. Genghis Khan would have studied a single NATO tank for an hour.
And understood immediately that the rules of war had changed beyond recognition. Caesar would have surrendered. Alexander would have asked to negotiate.
And watched his cannons fail to reach an enemy he could not see.
Saladin would have called for parley.
Saladin would have called for parley. Ramses II would have prayed. The Spartan kings would have died in the front rank. Because NATO does not win because it is stronger. NATO wins because the question itself stopped making sense. The moment artillery shells
could fly farther than a soldier could see. Now, if you want to see how a platoon of Marines would do against Julius Caesar and his legions, check out this video.